Hi friends, today we have Tarun Lochab, one of our students here. Tarun, first and foremost, congratulations on making the successful transition to a data scientist role. Congrats from all of our team.
Thank you, sir.
So I'll just give a brief introduction about your background so that students can connect better. So Tarun has about 7.5 to 8 years of work experience at companies like TCS and EduSarthi, which is an interesting startup in education. And he has worked at EduSarthi for about, I think, 5-6 years as a business analyst. And now we are moving to a data scientist role at a company called Akaike Technologies. Akaike Technologies is a regular hiring partner of ours.
Okay.
You'll also encounter some of your colleagues like Sahana and Harsh Sharma. If you need any help, they'll be there to help you. They're all alumni of the Applied AI course.
That's
so
amazing.
Feel free to reach out to them.
Right.
And Akaike has been, it's a very interesting startup that builds solutions in NLP, computer vision, etc. And most importantly, I should say, you completed all the assignments successfully, and you have very nice blogs that you put on your LinkedIn profile.
Correct.
So that is very good because that showcases the maturity of work, your actual work, because this is the work that you have done as part of our course. So that's something that I would recommend all students to do, to showcase their work on their LinkedIn profiles and things.
I would actually get referrals, timely referrals from, like I would get referrals for placement. This company, in fact, was referred by placements team. So I would like to thank the team for this. And so they would eventually give me interview calls, and they would actually write it to me. So this company wants elaborative project details, so please write and send to us. So they were very easy to approach, and I would constantly get emails and calls and feedback from the placements team, and this was very helpful.
Cool.
Plus I also eventually started applying to get parallelly. So I did not only like stick, so okay, they are helping,
we always
I should also help
students to work with our placement cell, but also to leverage your existing network.
Correct.
Or like that's the best way, right? Why limit ourselves to only a small narrow window? We strongly encourage our students to try across a wide spectrum of opportunities in addition to what we offer. So we have had students who got an offer through our placement cell, but they got a better offer outside also. We recommended them unbiasedly, as if we would recommend a friend or a colleague, saying, boss, this is a better one, please go. It's okay. We will explain to the company that hired through our placement cell, because your career is more important at the end of the day.
Correct. So that similarly, I got one offer from my search. I got from, but this time your offer was better than mine. In fact, the kind of role that it was there, so it was the perfect role to enter into.
Perfect.
So I thank you.
So with that background, Tarun, let's get into the discussion, the core of it. I wanted to understand what your interview experiences have been, especially because you have like almost close to 8 years experience in a business analyst role, and you're going into a data scientist role.
Okay. To begin with, actually, I started my career with TCS, and then I went into a project manager profile first before coming into the shoes of business analyst. So I was completely doing something else, and then this AI thing was a big challenge for me. Thankfully, going through your course completely and watching videos like this motivated me enough, and I kept pushing myself, and finally there was this company called Akaike Technologies. And thank you to you guys who referred it to me. So they had given this assignment, big assignment to solve first. So there was a problem statement for SQL, so we had to write certain SQL queries. That was a mandatory step that had to be completed. And then there were two other parts. One was for NLP and one was for computer vision. So these two parts were optional. So one was mandatory. So I tried to complete all of them, though I did not have in-depth knowledge about the computer vision stuff, but I read about it because we were given about 3 days to complete it. So this was something which I learned from Applied AI, because the assignments used to be so hard, and eventually the thing that we learned from Applied AI was learn to learn. And I was able to implement this thing there, and eventually almost finished, because few questions were open-ended. They did not have a close ending. So they wanted to see our approach and probably how much efforts we have put in from our end. And so I was able to submit that. Just on time.
Very good. Yeah. It's a very standard process that we see a lot of startups, even large companies do, which is like we had another company recently called Jupiter.money, which was trying to hire some machine learning folks. And one of the things they did along with the screening test was give some anonymized data and asked students to build a first cut solution. It's an actual problem that their team, because their VP of data science is a good friend of mine, they said, this is a problem that we are solving. We want to see how your students tackle it. So it's a very standard approach that a lot of companies take. And I'm happy, like the biggest takeaway for me is you're learning to learn, because
Correct.
that's a skill that will live with you all your life.
Correct.
So great, great. I want to understand how challenging was this task compared to the typical assignments and self-case studies that you've done in the course?
The questions were tricky. I would not say that they were straightforward. And if we compare to the applied AI assignments, so these were few questions were almost at par, and or few questions were below the below that challenging level. So if you have solved all the assignments from applied AI, you would be able to solve it. But yeah, few things like I said, you have to learn. So they give you enough time to pick up few things. Yeah, and the same question can be solved through variety of technologies. So they did not like constrain you to that you have to use this or that. You can use anything that you want.
Very good, very good. Because this is how you would work in a real environment, right? You get a problem
Correct.
and you try to build a POC in a few days. It's trying to simulate that. Very good. So apart from this task, what other levels of interviews did you have?
So once we cleared this, so they combined 3 rounds. So basically, Ujjwal took my interview, and he's also from Applied AI. And I was this was a little comforting to me. I thought I was speaking to one of my alumni, and I was a little confident while talking to him, honestly speaking. But yes, so he told me that he has clubbed 3 rounds together. So this round went for about 2.5 hours, and it consisted of coding plus mathematics. Like to begin with, so there was a coding round, and including of some math probability questions on probability and statistics, and then there were questions on about first we started with assignment discussions itself. So there was a discussion. So first we had to discuss, I have to tell them what step I took while solving the assignment, and what went wrong, what went right. If you had more time, how better could you have done?
It's a presentation of your work.
Correct. So first step was presentation of my work, and then there was coding plus mathematics round, and then there was data science plus business round. And so altogether it took about, so we started at 7 and it ended at 9:30. So this was
but one shot, everything is over.
Yeah, so I was at relief that if so it's done for one. Yeah.
So how hard were the questions and how deep were they mathematically, either the programming questions or the statistics questions or the core machine learning questions?
Like so coding round was, so it was like numerical Python. So it like in the initial part of our assignments, we had to solve few mandatory Python assignments. So if you have solved that, you can easily tackle this. Perfect. So I was able to solve questions, and then follow-up questions were like, can you reduce the time complexity? What is the time complexity of this? Can you reduce it? What are the other ways of doing this? Very good. Questions related to this. I did face few challenges regarding reduction of time complexity, but then there were other questions. Okay, you're getting stuck here. So what's next can you do? So this was about coding, and then about statistics and probability. Whatever you have taught, sir, whatever there in the videos, it was on the similar lines, like few basic questions, very basic questions. But when we moved deeper and deeper, the depth of the questions kept were actually getting a little more challenging.
So can you give us an example so that the audience also can get a flavor of some of these questions?
Like one question that I recollect is that, okay, so there's a data set, all right, and you do not know, so there's some misclassified points in it. So you have to figure out what are those misclassified points. So there are some errors in the labels, and you have to figure out, so there are 5,000 points. What technique would you apply? Why would you apply? And how would you come up with the solution? Very so good. If you, so I was able to give a first cut solution. In fact, it worked. I was happy that I was able to solve that. But yeah, if you just know the models, that's not enough. So whatever you have taught, like around the model, the bounding cases, the boundary cases, the limitations of models, all those things are very important. So yeah, so that was the question flow like.
What about the data science and machine learning part? Because that's the other piece of the 2.5 hour interview, right?
Right. So the other part was like, so they would give us a business problem. So just like in the course, there are Amazon business problem, one of the case studies. And so similarly on similar lines, so there are business problems that they would give us. And we had to draw the architecture. How would you solve the image data? How would you tackle the text data? How would you tackle the numerical data? And what sort of whole model that you would build?
It's like a big picture end-to-end system that you have.
Correct, correct. So they wanted to see our approach. How would we tackle this? Is it a linear problem? Is it a classification problem? What sort of a problem is it? How would you deal with it? Would you want to have probabilities in the end or not? And similarly, so they just want to see your whole approach, how you tackle the problem. So it's more like a discussion rather than a question answer thing.
Got it. That's a nice form, because these are the types of discussions that you would have with your colleagues on day-to-day basis, right?
Correct.
After joining the company. Okay. So with all this, another thing that I wanted to understand is, as a business analyst, prior to this transition and prior to joining Applied AI course, were you coding regularly?
No, I was not coding at all. In fact, I had not coded for 5 years or so before. The only thing that I coded in TCS was I learned a bit of C# and SQL during those days, and that during the training period. So
last 5 years you have not done much of coding, so
anything
coding, becoming good at it would have been
no coding, nothing. It was in fact, in the initial few months of the course was a nightmare for me, honestly speaking, because it demanded so much from me. But I can see the results now. Had I not put in those efforts, had the course not asked us to put in those efforts, I would not have cleared this round, honestly.
That's
speaking.
true. Especially our students who do not actively code. Like, for example, you do not code for 5 years as a business analyst and as a program manager. So it would be like a big shift for you. The initial part for non-programmers, non-software engineers is slightly hard, but that struggle is important, because if you don't put in that effort, you will never be able to do your self-case studies on your own.
That struggle actually made me transition, honestly speaking.
Perfect. So one other very important question: as somebody with 8 years of experience, you have work issue, your work-related pressures, family issues. I mean, all of us go through that. So what was your learning strategy, and how did you balance your regular work with this whole learning journey, especially given that you were not coming from a programming background?
Yeah. So first disclaimer that I want to put it here is that I took exactly 1 year to complete this course. I could not do it before 10 months or 8 months. Like I've heard people completing within 3 months. So so first of all, do not compare yourself with others. Everyone has different journeys, and people who come from non-programming background, you need to see this a little differently. You need to put in a little more effort, and it might be a little frustrating in the beginning, but then never give up attitude helps you a lot. If so, I would write emails whenever I get stuck. I would write emails. I would get a feedback from your end. So they would never answer you with the solution, because that's the part that you have to figure out. But yes, the support was excellent, honestly speaking. I thought after writing like emails for one question, like 10 emails for one question, they would just say, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it on yourself? But I always got very good responses, and eventually step by step. So initial few assignments were, I found it difficult, but then gradually I got the hold of it, and gradually I started taking little lesser time compared to previous. So consistency is the key. That's the first takeaway that I would give to students. You have to be consistent. I was not consistent in the initial days because pandemic had hit the business really bad, and mentally I was not present. So I was present physically, but mentally I would think about business also, the current job that I was into. So it was little difficult situation, and in fact in between the course I got suffered with corona. My family got suffered with corona, so there was a lot of time which got wasted there. But yeah, if we remove these two parts, I try to be consistent as possible. So for the day, like my day would get over at around 6:30. So in the nights I would study, and weekends I try to put in more number of hours. So as long as like 5 to 6 hours on weekends each day, and that was my strategy. So first I would so I made this mark. So I divided 30 assignments into 10 chunks. So first, let's focus on 10, and whatever videos I need to complete to finish these 10 assignments. First, I would do this. Then I would revise. So my and then I would go for next 10, and then this was my strategy. Uh, but yeah, revision is second most important thing. So I would study, and I would keep forgetting the earlier parts. So that was one of the trickiest things. So I thought, why not to opt for mock interviews, and so that with the more you practice for tests, the easier it will be for you to crack the interviews, the real interviews. So mock interviews were really helpful. In fact, one of the interviews I gave with you, the final one,
Yes.
and it went average. But the suggestion that you had given me, like revise, and that's what I did. So eventually, during the course, you need to put in extra effort. If you're non-programmer, you have to go through it. And number two, you have to be consistent. Number three, you need to make a proper timetable. Number four, you need to revise. So after every 15 days, revise whatever you studied. So once the course is over, then I came up with the strategy, like so in a week, I would give 2 days for ML, machine learning, 2 days for deep learning, 1 day for SQL, 1 day for Python, and 1 day for miscellaneous topics such as
Very good. Very nice.
AWS and other Flask techniques. So that strategy for interviews, because you can get a call from anywhere, because that was the thing. So I
It's a very
did.
nice strategy of revising by breaking the week. This shows your program manager mindset. Like,
Yeah.
I can see that in your planning. So very nice. I also remember our mock interview that I think I was one of the mock interviewers.
Yes. For
And I
second
also
one.
remember your second case study because it is slightly different from the normal.
Okay.
Very little data. I remember that second mock interview because I think I answered a few questions related to that, because very little data, the challenges, you can't apply like complex techniques. You have to be very careful when you do it.
Correct. So
I
the
remember
data was
that.
very short. I guess
Yes.
I was the person who made the shortest data for the case study one. So it had 62 points only.
Yeah, very little data. Now, how do you build a model, or how do you build something around it? That's a non-trivial challenge, without doubt. And that's an exciting challenge. Everybody does big data because you can just throw it through the most complex model. If you don't have enough data, what do you do? That's a good challenge. Cool. Now, another thing that I have is, as an experienced professional, I'm sure this transition is not straightforward for you. So what challenges you faced, either in your learning or your interviewing process, especially for somebody from non-programming background, 8 years of non-relevant experience, a lot of it. Of course, some of your learnings as a program manager and business analyst will surely help you as to be a mature data scientist, surely. But still, there is a lot of different stuff that you have done in your prior work. So as an experienced professional, what challenges did you face in your career transition?
The challenges were huge. Like, so basically, there's a gap. So when we apply for interviews, so I have 7 to 8 years of experience, and then people would want to hire probably say 0 to 3 years of experience of data scientist, or 3 to 5 years of data science experience. How do I show that I do also have some knowledge related to your work, and how do they segregate all my years of experience and take out the number of relevant experience? So these sort of challenges were definitely there. For most of the things, I would not get calls only because my profile was business analyst. So I thought, okay, let me apply, let me keep applying, irrespective of the role, like ML engineer, NLP engineer, data scientist, or business analyst, or data analyst. So I was open to all the roles because I wanted to first make transition and then eventually grow. So first thing is, like, do not first of all undervalue yourself. Okay, it's okay that you do not have a technical experience, that's fine, but you do have some knowledge related to business. You do have some project management role, or business analyst role, so you can at least find what business problems are and how to tackle. So you do bring in something. You do
have domain knowledge.
Yeah, we have domain knowledge, we do have communication knowledge, we do bring something to the table.
Surely a lot of maturity, for example.
Right.
Like, even in your preparation, your revision strategy of spending 1 day on machine learning, 1 day on this, that shows the structural thought process.
Correct. So I remember the fresher Tarun. I remember this Tarun, and this Tarun is way better than the fresher Tarun.
Yes,
So
exactly.
so never undervalue yourself, but at the same time, do not over expect also. See, we do have certain experience, but we do not have data science experience. So we have to be little flexible, like flexible in terms of packages, also flexible in terms of roles also. But thankfully, like I'm happy with the kind of role that I got, with the kind of remuneration that I have, and with the kind of company that I had. Like today only we had a group discussion, and it felt really good. Like in the times of pandemic, when people are struggling to in fact get jobs, I do have a job. In fact, the kind of role that I wanted to be a part of deep learning technology, and that's what I've gotten. So do not over expect and do not undervalue yourself. You have to maintain a bridge and be open. Be open. Do not shy away of telling of what your experiences were. I completely told him, like the CEO. I did have a HR round with CEO itself, and he asked me, like from TCS till here, what was my roles and what I went through, my ups and downs. In fact, I did have one more offer from other companies. So do not shy away from telling what you did and the challenges that you faced. So this shows your mindset, and once you are able to like tell your experiences completely, I'm sure the other person, they also need people who can actually behave maturely, uh, tackle the problems completely. They can make structure and eventually communicate with clients also. The client communication is also important, and it's part of data science. So just go full heartedly. Do not think that you won't be able to do it.
Very nice points. Don't undervalue as well as don't overvalue your prior experience.
Correct.
Because we see a lot of non-technical folks who think I can never make it to data science, which is not true. You
Not
have a lot of domain expertise and lessons that you have learned in 5, 10, even 15 years of experience that you can translate into data science careers.
correct. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm telling you, if they put in enough hard work, and your course is the right course to change that mindset. There are a lot of courses in the market, but the way you teach us, the way your methodology and the assignments, like I remember one assignment I had submitted for 6 times, and they would still not accept it if it's not at par.
Yeah,
So so
our
you
bar and our quality, we're not going to compromise. It's okay.
correct,
Take time. We will help
correct.
you. We will give you hints, but you have to solve it.
Correct. So that shift, there's a shift in mindset that happens throughout this course. So all the non-technical people will be able to relate it. So there's a shift in mindset. Once you put yourself completely, there's a shift in mindset, because the quality and the bar which is expected, because we come from marketing, sales, project management, and other roles. Here, the quality can go a little up and down, but in the codes, the quality cannot go up and down. So that's a perfect course for you.
Very nice to hear that. What suggestions would you give for somebody with like 8 years experience, especially given that most of your experience is non-programming, non-software engineering? What sort of suggestions will you give for people with your sort of experience on what should they focus on for career transition into data science?
Uh, See, over the course that I've realized that you really have to be good in programming skills. So Python, SQL are must. So you need to be really good at it. Go in depth. So your videos, if you watch them completely, so there's enough content there, and the most important thing is to practice out, and so the assignments were there which made us practice. So apart from the assignments also, if you get self-learning time, so that's very important. Most of the people would do certain assignments quickly, but few will not be able to do. So basically what I'm trying to say is, every topic is different for every person. For some, that topic can be very easy. For you, this topic can be difficult, and vice versa. So you need to actually sit down separately and look at yourself, look at your journey of every each month. What have you learned and what have you not learned? And you need to actually make your own performa, basically your own timetable. So for example, like there were few techniques like so k nearest neighbor is one of the easiest topics, right? But I've found certain difficulties in LSHS and other cosine similarities and other topics. So though it was easiest, but I did take out the time to actually go in depth, because I was not very confident about it.
Perfect.
So you need to actually take out time and figure out yourself what topics you are lacking at, and do not just let them go. Put them into practice and do it. And same goes with the assignment. Do not do it for the sake of completing it. Do it, understand it, and just do it in a way that you want to put your theory into practice. This is the best way to solidify your own knowledge. So this was the thing which I applied.
Very good,
And
very good.
yeah.
Nice talking to you, Tarun. Thank you on behalf of our whole team and all the students. Just like the way you benefited and you got motivated from our previous interviews, I'm sure a lot of working professionals with 5 to 10 years experience will get motivated from yours. And it's a very nice chain that some of our alumni are hiring our current students. It's a very nice feeling to have. So thank you very much. Thank you for taking.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.